Hello and welcome to the Labor John podcast, where we not only talk about yesterday's working class history of Philadelphia and the surrounding world, but today's and tomorrow's working class history of Philadelphia and the surrounding world. Today in the studio we have two very special guests, but first I'm going to lead you over to my co-host and good friend, Gabe Christie. Gabe.
Thank you. Yeah, we're now diving into the terrifying land of labor journalism. So we're joined today by Brett and Dave, and I'll let the two of you introduce yourselves. If you want to kick us off, Brett?
Yeah, sure. My name is Brett Bessler, son of a 39-year civil servant for the city of Philadelphia. I came out of Philadelphia Parks and Recreation as a recreation leader, and now am the business agent and vice president for AFSCME District Council 47, Local 2186.
All right.
Thank you kindly, and welcome. And Dave?
Yep. My name is Dave Wilson. I come out of the Department of Human Services, a proud social worker here in Philadelphia. I'm the president of AFSCME District Council, Local 2187.
Awesome.
Evening.
Well, welcome. And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
And I figure we'll start with the basics. So, who are locals 2186 and 2187? Who do they represent, and what work do members do in the city?
Sure. I guess I could jump in first on this one. So, Local 2187, we represent the technical, administrative, and professional employees in the city of Philadelphia, the Parking Authority, and the Housing Authority. And so we represent a wide range of folks, from forensic scientists to social workers to rec leaders to librarians to accountants to L&I inspectors, all the way up to forensic pathologists, doctors, dentists, nurses, prison social workers. And then on the Parking Authority side, we represent a lot of analysts that do a lot of the handicap signage, as well as the taxi and limo enforcement folks that go out there and make sure those hack limo drivers aren't, taking advantage of folks. And then on the Housing Authority side, we represent a good chunk of our members that are administrative professionals that work in the office, as well as the folks that work in the radio room, making sure if there's any crises that happen in public housing facilities, that there's someone to pick up the phone and make sure that the police are able to respond timely. So that's Local 2187 and sort of a quick snapshot on who we represent.
Wow. It covers a lot of ground.
We do.
Always more to city government than I realize.
Always is.
And Brett, do you want to introduce 2186?
Yeah, so basically Local 2186 is the sibling local. For 2187, we actually represent the first level supervisors for most of all the people that are in David's local in 2187. But we also do have some different positions, maybe some more labor intensive throughout the city. We have a lot of members in the water department that actually their feeder class comes from DC 33. So we're a little bit niche in DC 47 in that because we're that first level supervisor, we kind of have a little bit of a bigger umbrella when it comes to what kind of work we do and what kind of work we represent. But just like David's local, our members wear many, many different hats. And it's very unique for Local 2186. There are not that many locals across the country that represent first level supervisors. Our members, if they were in the private sector, they would be categorized as management. But because of the hierarchy and the multiple levels in city government and in public works throughout the country, we are able to have some first level supervisory locals. So we are special.
Cool.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people who are not in the union world, the labor sphere, as we call it, who listen to the show, and having that information, especially just what like a local is very beneficial. So I appreciate both of you spelling all that out for us.
Sure.
Yeah. And especially always good for folks in the city to know who's representing who around or in city government and whatnot. And who do yeah, anyway.
He was going to go on a tangent.
It's been a very long day, so I apologize for any tangents. But speaking of that, so you're getting ready for some contract negotiations coming up. And what are the day-to-day issues that your members are facing, that covering anything that could be included in the contract or even stuff outside of that that's just a general concern of membership?
Wages are number one. All money rules everything. But in the city of Philadelphia, I think that the most important thing for this contract, when we're talking about wages, we're talking about health insurance benefits, fringe benefits, all that kind of stuff. I'm really excited to go into these negotiations just because I think really the crux of it, what we're doing is we're trying to make the jobs in the city of Philadelphia more attractive. As I'm sure you guys know, where the city of Philadelphia is operating at fluctuating around a 20% plus vacancy rate citywide. So, we have to make these jobs more attractive to bring in new talent that wants to come in, but also wants to stay. So, we have a lot of hiring and retention issues that we think that can be resolved through our contract. And what's best for our members is a fair, just, and robust contract. And what that will mean for the city of Philadelphia is high quality, consistent services for all residents to enjoy.
There you go.
Yeah. And if I could piggyback off Brett, I think that, when we really look at city government jobs, a lot of them are paid significantly lower than the private sector counterparts. So, for example, a lot of our engineers that work in the water department, the streets department, right, they're paid significantly lower than what an engineer in the private sector are paid. And so really fighting to expand some of those fringe benefits to make up for that deficit, as well as fighting for increasing wages is another priority of ours. So we're, when we talk about child care and elder care and expanding our medical coverage and improving our EAP services, making sure that folks have that decent work-life balance is a massive priority as well. Contract negotiations, isn't necessarily about all about addressing the issues that members are facing, but it's also about how can we predict future issues that are going to occur and really get in ahead of the game and implement some strategies and contract language to really prevent harm down the road. And so a lot of that comes with the years of experience, some of the things that Brett and I see on our day-to-day dealing with management, whether that's through bargaining, whether that's through some settlements that we work on, or just downright representing members. One little issue to one person that may exist in the streets department may turn into a massive issue for all of our members a couple years down the road. And so sometimes we want to make sure that during contract negotiations, we're really trying to close that door and prevent those loopholes from being utilized by management that really harm our members at the end of the day.
Both make a lot of sense. Definitely the importance of wages and having a spouse who was very recently on the job hunt and constantly updating the Philly jobs site. And yeah, the rent is too damn high and the wages are too damn low. But and also, thank you for kind of going into a little bit deeper into the strategy around negotiations and issues. Because like Sam was saying, I think that's also, we have a tendency to cover it from a very high level when we're talking about like historic strikes and whatnot, but actually seeing the logic and the strategy behind it is definitely very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, as Dave was just saying, about not just this contract, but also the future and what's the next contract going to hold. And you kind of have to like tell what's going to happen in the future. You have to have like all that information. So that's like very interesting as well.
Yeah. And I think conveniently, right, the past seems to repeat itself.
Yeah.
And so
Unfortunately,
what we end up doing is, we'll sit here and we'll really spend time evaluating past contracts. We'll evaluate the notes that our past negotiators really took during those sessions to really see where the city made certain arguments that appear to be a theme across the board. And we can look back in the 1989, 87 contract that sort of caused a huge uproar with the change and shift from the pension plan back then to where we are heading with the current pension system here in the city of Philadelphia. So, it's one of those things where we try to see how can we get ahead of this curve here? How can we mitigate a pretty significant, problem and really put in these solutions now and really fight to educate the city on what they may be completely blind to, which is 9 times out of 10 what we're doing. It's trying to not only be reactive but proactive in addressing those problems.
Yeah, and I would say, one of the other things that, we're like I try to think about is that I always want to make our workplace, our contract, whatever it may be, better than what it was before for the people that are going to come in after us. It used to be, like I let off. My dad worked for the city for 39 years. One of the goals is we want a legacy, right? You want your children or your neighbors, your community to see that a government job working for the city is respected and you're going to be taken care of. And that's what we really want to see, because we do want to create those legacies. We want to get back to the days when working for the city was highly, highly respected, and you knew that you were kind of going to be set for life. You serve, right? You give your life to the municipality that you live in, and you should be respected and compensated fairly for that, not only when you're working, but after you retire as well.
Yeah, definitely.
it's not about me; it's about us.
Exactly.
Yeah. And from the citizenry standpoint, that having a dedicated and actually somewhat happy workforce leads to better delivery of services as well. That you're not dealing with someone who's worrying about either getting food on the table or having any kind of retirement. They can actually focus on helping you. And on that note, I'd initially wanted to focus on the kind of the politicization of libraries, but I think I'd actually kind of expanding that in general just to what kind of issues are members facing from both the kind of polarization, politicization around library programming, especially during Pride Month, but more broadly, just basically citizens in the city taking their frustration out on all of the front-facing membership, because that's the other side of being able or being in a position to deliver services is you're also the one taking all the complaints.
Yeah, I would say, I think when we look at a lot of what our members are facing, whether they're librarians that are planning a robust programming during Pride Month or trying to be as inclusive as they possibly can in many different ways, and then getting some backlash, as I think we saw last year with organizations coming into Philadelphia to really try to demonize what the Philadelphia librarians and the library was trying to really portray. But we see it a lot on our social workers, the folks that go out in the field to really ensure that children are safe in Philadelphia. A really, really hard, taxing job that requires endless amounts of hours and significant sacrifice of their own families. Something very dear to my heart as a social worker, it would really be going in at 8:30 in the morning and not really knowing when you'd be done. Wow. And I can't count on over and over again how many times I finished in the wee early morning hours of the 2-3 a.m.s and expected to report back to work that following morning, and really just overtly taxed on a regular basis. And that bleeds into some of our other jobs, right? So our rec leaders, significantly understaffed. I mean, I'm talking 60 plus rec leader trainees and rec leader ones as a vacancy count that we don't have in the city to ensure that there's proper programming for the kids during the summertime, right? And that's something that Brett comes from, so I won't talk too much about Parks and Rec and sort of let him segue into it. But we see it with our nurses that are in these health centers that are really trying to make sure that people are able to get basic medical treatment. There's a high turnover rate of nurses, a very toxic environment managerially in the health department of how folks are being treated. And again, when we talk about pay equitability, they can make a lot more money in a unionized shop at Jefferson than they would in the city of Philadelphia. So it's sometimes about really leveling that playing field. But when we look about how that political volleyball really plays a role with a lot of our jobs and really, forces a lot of our members to be in very uncomfortable situations, a lot of times we navigate it by really wholeheartedly supporting our members that are in those roles, making sure that they know they have the support of the labor union, implementing as many tools that we have available to us, whether that's our workplace violence prevention coordinator to really get out there and navigate some solutions, whether that's applying some pressure through city council, through our legislative team here at the council, to really say, hey, we really want to draw attention to this so that you all can raise this awareness. And so we try to make sure that we're equipped with providing as much support and as many resources as possible to our members in a very rapid sense when we see that sort of political volleyball coming our way. I think last year with the Mothers of Liberty coming into Philadelphia around programming and Pride Month with our librarians, the librarians were well aware of this movement coming in and was really able to give the union a heads up. So we were able to navigate with our health and safety director contacting the police department to make sure that they had resources well established at these library branches, making sure that our members felt safe. And most importantly, the patrons, the Philadelphians that come in to really engage in this programming felt that they were going to be able to come in and receive, a safe spot to engage in this kind of stuff. And so, I think when we see that political volleyball coming our way, we definitely don't back down. I think we definitely go out there and get ready to volley it back over to their side, whatever the thing is called. Net, volley it back over the net. Right? Yeah. But I'll turn it over to Brett. I know Brett can talk a lot more about Parks and Rec and that political volleyball.
Yeah, I mean, so like Parks and Rec is a great example of how things can get politicized when it comes to our members and the workforce in Philadelphia. Since 2019, there's been over 300 shootings that are very close to recreation centers across the city. So again, we talk about a 20% citywide vacancy rate. In Philadelphia Parks and Recreation, it's 30% department wide. So that's it's 3 out of every 10 people. And these are positions in rec centers, where we have to maintain state child to adult ratios, all that kind of stuff. So it really the understaffing really significantly impacts the very, very frontline workers that offer the direct services. And, when departments are short staffed, especially like Parks and Rec, what ends up happening is you have a lot of people, a lot of our members in Parks and Rec. I was one of them, that starts wearing 5-6 different hats. You can go in, you're teaching a music lesson, and then all of a sudden you're responding to violence outside, and now you're a security guard. And then you go back in and, there's kids that are hungry and you're kind of offering social services, or you have to, we want to be inclusive. So we sign children up that might have, special needs and stuff like that, but maybe we didn't go to school to be, the proper, offer the proper services for those kind of youth, so you're wearing all these different hats, but you're only getting paid for one job, and you just become extremely just stretched thin over time. And that's why we're seeing so many problems, not only with hiring but also with retention, because our members are just getting burnt out in the field. And I'm sorry, I should talk about how that gets politicized, right? That's the main question. So that gets politicized by all city council members. Like when I was a rec leader, they're always using the rec center, for all their events, Thanksgiving turkey giveaway, coat drives, like all that kind of stuff. If they want to do an event, they'll call, Mr. Brett over at the rec, hey, I need to do this event on Sunday. Well, councilman, I don't work on Sundays. Well, guess what? I already talked to your manager.
You do now.
You're going to be, be in on Sunday. We got you approved for OT that, by the way, you're never really approved for in Parks and Rec outside of pool season.
Mm-hmm.
But, like those things get politicized. And then when the budgets come up and all that kind of stuff, we lobby with city council. We try our hardest to, point out that not only do residents utilize and rely on our spaces and our services, but you guys use them too. And if they're not going to be vibrant spaces, constituents are going to complain to the council members. So it's like this, like almost like a weird cycle, symbiotic relationship. And we did budget testimony during the public budget hearings, and shortly after we did that, we got a resolution from City Council to schedule hearings about staffing in Parks and Rec, so we can ensure that we have safe staffing levels and safe, clean facilities for our residents to use.
And because I come from the not government museum field, and it's always kind of terrifying how similar that story is, of your job description just being other duties as assigned, and that being the whole of it. But
working retail at Target was the same thing.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And our store only ever looked good when the district manager came to stop by.
There you go.
It was always hell every other time.
Yeah, soft lines and hard lines. Don't forget.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see,
I was market.
And the terrible thing about that, right, is when you're short staffed, when you're understaffed, our members can say no. If it's outside of their job specs, like we can grieve that if we want to. But really, what it comes down to at the end of the day, for like a rec leader or a librarian, sometimes saying no is saying no to youth. Saying no to helping someone. And we as civil servants, and we get into this job because we want to help people, right? We don't want to let people down. So we do kind of get taken advantage of sometimes by the city. Like, they kind of pull on our heartstrings, and they know that we'll do anything for the communities that we serve. And also other times we're just stepping up to help our siblings in our union. You might be overburdened with a caseload or something like that. And, kind of doing job sharing, things like that. But overall, it needs to be addressed, or this city is never going to progress if we're missing 20% of our workforce.
Damn.
Definitely. Yeah, 100%. And did you have something you wanted to jump in on, Dave?
I was just going to say, in all that Brett explained, the salaries start off in the extremely low 40s. $42,000 a year starting. So, and you require a bachelor's degree. So I think when we ask them to do that kind of work, and you pay them at that low of a salary, and you expect them to have a minimum education of a bachelor's degree, and won't even consider, training experience sort of as a comparable, buy-in, it's very hard to find those folks. And so, it's one of the many challenges that we see in city jobs.
Yeah.
That's nice. Gabe, do you have any happy questions?
Not yet, but so continuing down the political route, but without causing any problems. This will be the first contract negotiated with Mayor Parker's administration.
Who I'm sure we're all excited about that.
I'll say she has made some decisions, whether or not, or people's opinions of those decisions can be their own. But what issues are you expecting to face with the new administration?
It's tough to tell. I've done contract negotiations in 2017 as an executive board liaison in 2187. I've done contract negotiations in 2021. So I'll be doing contract negotiations here in 2024 as the president of the local. We've been, something that we really pride ourselves on is being very prepared. And we've been really watching, engaging, interacting with Sherelle Parker when she was Councilwoman Parker. We've been engaged in interacting with her as Mayor Parker. I think one of the things that we always like to do is we like to remain optimistic, and we tend to want to make sure that we maintain that tenor. But at the same time, we're extremely prepared and we're ready to respond to all possible outcomes. And I think that's something that we've always done here in Local 2187, and something that we've ramped up over the past year and a half or so with both Local 2186 and Local 2187 together, is that, we expect her and hope that she'll provide a fair and reasonable contract and negotiate very fair and reasonably. And I remain optimistic of that. But I've also done my homework, and I'm also very prepared and ready to be able to handle anything that comes our way. And so I sort of will leave it at that. I think that, the local really has armed itself with membership engagement in a way that we haven't seen in many, many years. This local, the largest local in Philadelphia, AFSCME local in Philadelphia, that has full bargaining power with a very healthy strike fund, is very prepared to engage Mayor Parker in any avenue in which she decides to go down. But I can tell you that we remain optimistic and hope that we can work out a fair and reasonable deal.
All right.
And I will say just from tracking 2187 and really DC 47 in general, just through socials, there has been a noted uptick of activity in the past year. And it's great to see.
It is. And I think one of the big things that I've always had, and a vision that Brett's always had, and Jennifer, the president of Local 2186, and my staff, right? Tammy Murphy, Jesse Jordan, Gabe Lee, and Kate Mackey, and the executive boards of both the locals really has been, it's about time that we ensure transparency, advocacy, membership engagement at a level that really we haven't before. It isn't just about me. It's about all of us. And our members in Local 2187 really want to be part of the process. And those that are really animated and really jived up to get engaged, I want them engaged. I can't do it myself. I'm one person. And as you probably have seen from the social media blast that we've been doing recently, our current campaign to combat alternative work schedules and really work down that road of really showing to the mayor's office, but also the public, that this is something that was bargained. And now to go back and just unilaterally make that change is wrong. And if you watch anything that's been going on, there's a lot of people in the legal community and the political community that agree, right? There's a lot of case law that exists in Austin, Texas, and in Boston and New York, where AFSCME locals have had great victories in bargaining alternative work schedules. They've had great rulings in their favor that this topic is something that is subject to bargaining. Luckily for the council and all the members of Local 2187, and I'll speak for a little bit on 2186, for the past 2 years, I've been engaged in monthly meetings with the Mayor's Office of Labor Relations on bargaining alternative work schedules. So that documented evidence is pretty clear. And so I think that, making sure that our members see that they have a union working for them, they have the opportunity to also work with the union and be part of it and really activate themselves within this organization is something that I've always been very prideful of and will continue to be. Because, when I got involved, it was because I wanted to make sure that when I retired, I didn't lose a bunch of benefits that I could have maintained throughout my city employment. And so it's something I'll continue to do here.
Roger that. Yeah, that's fantastic to hear. And I guess on the note of the union supporting employees and supporting each other throughout all of this, how can the general public of Philadelphia support you guys?
How can Sam help you?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think go on our social media. We're going to have when it comes to alternative work schedules, we're going to have a hearing that's coming up. We need bodies. What this issue really is coming down to is that work evolves, right? We're not even 100 years separated from winning the weekend. And a lot of the things that you see right now that are in opposition to alternative work schedules, like a hybrid option, it sounds eerily familiar to the people that were against having a weekend. It really doesn't have a rhyme or reason. It's just, they're lazy and all that kind of stuff. But we've never gotten any data to show, that our members are quote unquote lazy and not doing their job. And I guarantee you, from what this new mayoral administration has demonstrated so far, if they had that data, they would be ramming it down David and mine's throats every single day. And it's just not true. So, what's going to end up happening, or what the mayor thinks is going to end up happening, because she's, I'll say it, she's in bed with all these developers and these big businesses and all that kind of stuff, is they think if, our members come back into work, which they never stopped going to work. They have been in the office 3 days a week. They think that, IBX and Comcast and everybody's going to stop doing hybrid work. We don't think that's the case, but that's what speaks to the public, right? We have people that aren't city employees that are really worried that if the city comes back, that somehow this plan, that everybody's going to follow suit with the city, that the private industry is going to say no more to hybrid work. Residents are concerned about that. So, throughout time, throughout history, I know this is a labor, history podcast, unions lead the way on these kind of pivotal moments in labor and how work evolves. So if you want to support us, just latch on to what we're doing. We need bodies at these hearings. We need people commenting on social media, all that kind of stuff. Just get involved and follow us, because like I said, and like David said earlier, history repeats itself. And I firmly believe this is just the next pivotal point and topic in labor that's going to, change the course of history, really, and how we think about work.
And to follow up on Brett, there's there's also ways that people can click on different links and see how they can help support the movement that we're doing just to solidify alternative work schedules as we've been working on, whether that's writing to their political legislators, city council reps, engaging in that capacity as well. I was grateful enough to be able to work with a great group of people in the budget series and working with them to try to fight for fully funded service, the folks at CCP, and just a slew of great organizations that we met with on a biweekly or a couple, biweekly basis throughout this early part of the spring, late part of the winter, early part of the spring. And so continuing that momentum and really engaging some of these organizations that also have buy-in, right? When we have fully funded services in the city of Philadelphia, citizens have great city services that they're able to participate in, right? They're able to ensure that their pools are going to be open and their rec centers are going to be open and their libraries are going to be open. And there's going to be people out there making sure that children are being safe and protected. And there's going to be social workers helping folks re-engage back into society. There's going to be social workers helping people find housing, right? And so all L&I inspectors, making sure that people aren't moving into facilities where there's bad wiring that could cause fires and cause harm to a lot of people. So, those fully funded services only happen when we talk about fighting for that contract that provides a reasonable shot at making the city of Philadelphia a competitive employer.
Yeah, definitely. And on your note, Brett, about the kind of the same arguments from the people opposing the weekend, that I can say after studying 250-ish years of labor history, I don't think I've found a single original anti-worker argument. That they just keep getting recycled for centuries and centuries. Because the arguments against the 10-hour day in the 1830s were the same thing of they're just being lazy and don't want to work.
Yeah.
But
shame.
Yeah.
Unless we're talking about a 410 schedule, which would be awesome for some of our members that can't do hybrid work, right? I would love to work when I was a rec leader, I would love to work a 410 schedule. It would increase services, increase operational hours for, forward facing facilities and all that kind of stuff. that would be great. Just wanted to throw that in there in case anybody ever hears it in the mayor's office, at least.
We'll send that clip directly to Mayor Parker for you.
There you go. You could send it to Sue Slaughton too, the commissioner of Parks and Rec.
Okay. Well, I don't have any more questions. Sam, do you want to ask a happy question?
Oh God. Oh, I could probably pull that one off. Oh, this might be such a tacky question. What do you like about your job? Is that okay to ask?
That is okay to ask. Yeah. I'll let Brett go first.
I mean, I love my job. I love getting up every day, and I feel like there's a commonality from where I came from, and what I've always wanted to do in my life is just help people, right? And my God, I love repping members. I love going in, going into some, frivolous discipline case or something like that, and just making a great argument and just eviscerating management. You didn't do a proper investigation. We want the back pay, all that kind of stuff. And then, you get those results for people when they know they were harmed, when they know that they were wronged. And, a lot of times they're missing pay because of those faults of management. Right. And to be able to get, those kind of, payback or leave time, whatever it may be, for our members, that's what I wake up every day is, I want to have that phone call where I call a member and say, we got the decision, we got all your back pay, everything's good to go. Just go to work, just do your job. That's all our members want to do. And we're there to protect them and make sure that they can do that.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I think it's the same for me, right? I'm a social worker. I come out of DHS. And so it's always been about helping people. It's always been about identifying resources to improve people's lives. When I'm not working crazy amount of hours as a labor leader, I'm a mental health professional, right? I have a private practice that I offer therapy for folks in the Philadelphia region. So I just love making sure that people are able to navigate life's challenges. And if I'm able to help them through that process in any capacity, it makes my day. And it's been something that I able to lay my head down on my pillow and sleep very soundly, knowing that I've helped a chunk of people every single day, and trust and believe the amount of calls and emails that I get sometimes surpasses what I ever think I would get. But I respond quickly, and sometimes I put my own needs aside to really help others, just because I know that just 5 minutes on a call with someone really does make their day, does change their outlook on things, maybe does dissipate some anxiety and allow them to go home, be more present for their families. So, for me, it's really just about being there and being a sound voice of reason, being the support that a lot of people are looking for. And of course, to Brett's point, right, I love the sweet taste of victory. And so when you're able to go in there and really knock management back a little bit and really stand up for folks, it's nothing sweeter. That's for sure.
You guys knocked it all out of the park. I love that those answers. Those are great.
It's the truth.
Yeah,
that's part of it.
Good. Yeah, I want to give Gabe. I'm sorry, Brett. Go ahead.
No, I just thinking of another thing that's really advantageous. I think about mine and David's work and everybody at the locals is when you're a City of Philadelphia employee, you can't really talk to politicians. You're not really supposed to talk to council members and stuff like that for conflict of interest and all that kind of stuff. So it was really exciting when I got this position to be able to, kind of be on the same level with some of these politicians and, look them in the eye, foster relationships with them to where you can get to the point where hey man, we're really fucking up here in this department and we need your support. And what you're doing right now is kind of whack. And to, be able to have that very candid dialogue with politicians and they meet you and they see you and they hear you and then you can get some results done that way, was very exciting for me because I, always read the Inquirer my entire life and, just screaming about politics in Philadelphia and all of a sudden to be in council chambers or in these meetings with the people that actually make these decisions and get to voice my opinion is fun. That's a part of the job I really like as well.
And as a citizen of the city, I can say I'm glad we've got some workers doing that because That is very necessary work. Thank you guys for being here. Do you have any closing remarks or anything?
No, I think we covered it. I want to thank, you, Sam and Gabe for allowing, us on the show and allowing us to be able to sort of give our 2 cents on our perspectives with a lot of things. I think for a very long time, District Council 47, 2 locals really have been just really hammering home and providing great services for folks. And I think it's about time that District Council 47 becomes a little bit more of a common name and a theme throughout Philadelphia when we talk about the labor movement, instead of just focusing so heavily on the trades. We're a great organization. We do great work for the citizens here in Philadelphia, and all of our hardworking members dedicate their time and potential earnings to really work very hard at making sure every Philadelphian has the opportunity to have a great childhood, to have a great, healthy life, to be able to learn in the libraries, to be able to navigate the different services that exist. And I'm forever grateful that I was able to do the work that I did as a social worker at DHS. And I'm forever grateful that when I'm not working as this local president, I'm able to take my daughter and go into the libraries and enjoy the great programming there and the rec centers and let her run around through those sprinklers and splash pads and really just enjoy her enjoying her childhood. So I just want to thank you 2 for having us on here. I really appreciate it.
That's awesome. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sam and Gabe, for having us on the show. And I guess just my last comment is just again, to residents, to anybody that's listening, get involved with us, because like I said before, anything, the best for us is the best for residents. If you fight with us, you're fighting for better services, you're fighting for a better city for yourself, and that's what we all want. We all want the city of Philadelphia to thrive. And the only way the city of Philadelphia can thrive is if its workers thrive.
Definitely. And I think on that note, thank you guys for being here. It was an absolute pleasure to talk with you.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Can I do one last thing? Because you both, I'm sure, we're going to see you at a rally, right?
Oh,
of course.
Local 2186, 87 does this too. When I speak, I'm going to ask a question. Who runs this city? Who do you think runs this city?
The workers.
We do. The workers.
No, we do. We do.
We do, Gabe. I got it right.
There you go.
Right? So who runs this city? Let's do it together. Who runs this city?
We do.
There you
Come
go.
on, Gabe.
All right. You got your practice in. I'll see you at a rally. You're screaming at the top of your lungs.